Hello Nippies, welcome back to the channel, and if you're new here, hi, hello, I'm Nips, a freelance artist, and today we have a long video, as you can see by the time, so don't get scared. We're gonna be working on some expression sheets, and for those of you that don't know, I have a webcomic called Offcell that I've had for quite some time actually. It is 18 plus, so be careful, but I will put the links down below. You can find it at offcellcomic.com. And yeah, so on the website, if you go in, there is a cast tab. And in that tab, I have a bunch of basically kind of main characters and main side characters. And I've been trying to flesh out those profiles. I'm a huge proponent of just fleshing out your character in every way possible, and so I really wanted to put a lot of care and attention into doing the expressions, the bodies, the fashion style, their families, all these sorts of things. But right now I have 13 characters on that page, and it takes quite some time to do all of them. And because expressions are my absolute favorite, I decided to start with those. And here you'll see we're working on Pim, which is one of the main characters. And in my comic, we have 4 main characters. I really like having a cast of really not just one singular main character or even 2. I just kind of like a giant cast that all seems kind of relevant at the same time. Those are my favorite. And so I decided to start with sketching out all of the sheets at once. Now, I think I've talked about this several times, especially with the Player of the Month Team Liquid portraits, because when I do series, I'm pretty sure there's somebody out there also that struggles with this. When you do a series of drawings, it is hard sometimes to keep the same quality and the same kind of style the further you go along, right? Like it gets more detailed, it gets more colored, it gets maybe more messy because you're tired. Like it always varies. And so because it was gonna take so long, I was like, okay, what if I just do them all at the same pace, right? I do all the sketches, then all the lines, all the flats, all this, all that. And I was like, this is foolproof. This plan is foolproof. What could possibly go wrong? And I'm saying that so you can probably assume that it does go wrong. And so, yeah, so I started off with these sketches. Now, Pim is Pim is one of my favorite characters to draw. He's very fun. He's very teasing, very happy, jokey character, but also has very serious, mad moments. Very kind of scary mad moments. Is one of those people that they look really happy on the outside, but kind of like sad and traumatized on the inside. I think he's like outwardly, he's the perfect definition of a himbo. He's very much himbo energy. And you'll see here that when I start with my expression sheets, I kind of decided on a format. For these, I really just liked the 6 expressions format. All kind of just layered out in faces and stuff coming out from one another. And I went with this like super sketchy like style just so that I could have a general idea of what it's gonna look like at the end, but neat enough that it would look nice on the webpage as a work in progress. And mind you, right now, it looks kind of okay, right? It looks readable, it looks decent. But you'll see as they go on, I do exactly what I said. They start getting more and more detailed. Yeah, and so when I do these expression sheets, I do have an expression tutorial coming out soon. I know I've said that for the last couple videos, but it does take quite some time to plan it, to do the most appropriate, execution of the tutorial. I haven't done one, really a proper tutorial at least, ever, so I'm really scared about messing it up. So it's taking me a little bit. I've gone through several iterations already and I didn't really like any of them. So we'll see if I can find a version of it that I really like. But I guess this is a good example of what my expressions look like in general, just in case you want to look forward to that or you don't know what my work looks like. Or maybe I'll probably direct you guys here from the tutorial if you've never seen my work later. So you'll see, that's coming. So yeah, so when I usually do these, I know some people like to do like the stock emotions, right? You try to do one stock emotion for each character. You're like, okay, happy, sad, mad, laughing, crying, or, you know, being flirty. And originally I wanted to maybe go that route so I can have like, you could basically see every character in like a similar scenario, right? Which is half what I ended up doing, but not consciously. So what I ended up doing instead was I tried to give each character that I drew the widest range of emotions for that specific character. So I made sure that the character was still in character. So if I found an emotion that really didn't fit the character, I would just not include it. So sometimes I would instead pick an emotion that was more characteristic of the character, right? I wanted to show each character in their most, I guess, iconic faces, if that makes sense, right? Like the most, the expressions that you would see them in the most. So I think it's really important to depict your characters in a way that like summarizes them, right? I guess that's like the best way to put it, right? Like I want these sheets to summarize the character for you, that you could look at these sheets and have a good idea of what the character is without saying anything. So that is one of my favorite things in characters, and that's why I focus so much on expressions and just trying to make the characters feel alive. So that is kind of what I try to do in these. And when I first decided to do these expression sheets, I wanted to add color to everything. So I did this, I was going to do the sketch for everything, do lines for everything, and then add colors to everything. And as this kind of sketches went along and they started getting cleaner and cleaner, I kind of changed my mind and wanted to potentially just keep the sketches, maybe clean them up slightly, because as you see how clean they get later on, there are 13 and I have completed all of them. So you'll see that towards the end, they get super, super clean. And so I decided that once I go into the next stage, which I'm going to explain now, I'm going to redo some of the first ones that I did, which I made a mistake by doing my main characters first. Why did I do that? I should have known myself better. I was like, it's going to be fine. It's going to be fine. They're all going to come out the same. And they indeed did not, because surprise Pikachu, you know? So I ruined the main characters by doing them first. Or if I think about it, did I actually do them a service? Because now they're going to be essentially the last ones, because I'm going to redo these like I did the last one. So yeah, but going on to now the new and improved way that I think is going to be better to do these, and it's also going to be a lot easier, and I think it'll look more fun and more like, I don't know, it'll feel more loose. I feel like if they're all in color, it's a little too polished for my taste, so maybe it'll make it feel more fun, is to leave the sketches for all of them and then only color the most iconic of the faces. So the one that summarizes the character the best, I think, is going to end up in color. So that way your eye kind of gravitates towards that expression, and then you basically, it's almost like subconsciously you're summarizing the character with that expression, and everything else is kind of like supplementary, right? So yeah, so that's basically what I'm doing here. And a lot of the middle, so I chose to do like one chibi, one little caricature for each one, because I love drawing like little cute derpy chibis, And so I decided to at least include one for each because they're just too fun and they're very exaggerated, very lighthearted, and I like that sort of thing. So it was really fun to find a way to make even the most unexpected characters have kind of a cartoony, fun vibe. And we're a little late into the video to mention this, but if you guys noticed, we are not doing a speed paint. We are actually just cutting it up so you can see the strokes in real time. And of course, it's not all of the strokes, or else this video would be 13 plus hours long. But my editor did an incredible job in just grabbing all of the content that I had and just boiling it down to 1 hour alone. And we agreed to, there's 13 total, and we agreed to put 7 in the first one and 6 in the second one because the first ones were much, much faster. So we could probably fit more in the first video and have it be around the same length as probably the second one. So, yeah, so hopefully, I know there are a lot of you that really, and we did it with the last video, which, by the way, thank you guys so much for the love on that. It's been incredible. You guys are so sweet. I really do appreciate it, and I'm so glad that a lot of you really enjoyed the painting style of that more than my usual. So we'll try and stick to something like that a little bit more. These I could not film with my hand in the way because these were done on stream, as you can see by the stream overlay. So unfortunately there is that, but hopefully you guys will still enjoy the kind of the less chaotic visuals of this one, even though there are no hands for you to see how I make the strokes, but you can still see the cursor kind of moving along. So hopefully that's a midway point between seeing my hand and the speed paint, the full-on sped up speed paint. So let me know what you guys think down below. Hopefully we can get to a point where, you know, it's more comfortable for you guys to watch. I do apologize for the length. Let me know also if the length of the video is overwhelming. If maybe we should have chopped it up instead of 2 videos, maybe we should have chopped it up to 3. I'm thinking that for the next video, maybe I just do something like of an intro, a longer intro, and just kind of do music the whole way through, because most of the stuff I want to say is probably going to be said here, but I don't know. I say that all the time, and then I start rambling about all the stuff that I'm drawing on the screen, and then I just keep going, okay? I can talk forever, but I hate the sound of my voice, so sometimes I don't watch these. I trust my editor, okay? I trust my editor to do the Lord's work, because God knows I cannot hear myself talk for longer than 5 seconds in playback. So, we're out here trusting. So, but yeah, so here we are drawing our second character, Anya. And Anya, I absolutely love. Anya and Pim are basically the comics' favorites. So they're 2 of the 4 main characters, and everybody just loves Pim and Anya because they're probably the most fun. They're the most wholesome. They're the most, cute, energetic. They're very much like shonen protagonists. They're very just out there. I think Jago and Saskia, if you don't know the names I'm talking about, my editor will probably throw up a little thumbnail, if anything, on the corner so you can see what they look like. But otherwise, they're all in the cast tab if you're interested enough on the main website. I'll put the links down below. But yeah, Jago and Saskia are the other 2 of the 4, and they're a little bit more troubled. They're a little more specific in the type of character that they are. Jago's just silent and large, and he's like the big, like, bear, warm kind of character, but he's very quiet, like that sort of thing. And then Saskia's the sly, duplicitous, kind of troubled internally kind of character. And so these two are more kind of catered to the general audience. Catered is probably not the best word, because I usually don't draw my characters to cater to anything, probably other than to themselves, right? Like, I just want to create characters that are their own thing, and they kind of, as time goes on, if any of you have seen Offcell since its creation in like 2014, you guys will have seen how much these characters have grown. And I need to write this down, but I want to make a video comparing, you know, the new version of the characters with the old ones. It's honestly incredible. These characters, to me, have grown so much. They're basically not the same characters anymore, but they are, in a weird way, you know. A lot of people ask me how I create my characters, and one of the biggest things that I do is to get to know them. And I don't know entirely what a character is like the second that I create them. It's more of like, I just have a general idea, and the more I draw them, it's like I'm getting to know them, you know, like literally that. Like, who are they? Where did they come from? Like, what in their past makes them act this way? And I try to think of them in like every scenario, you know, and the more that you do that, you are essentially learning about your character, and you kind of like tweak. It's like fine tuning, you know, and they become more and more real as that process goes on. And it's literally one of my favorite things. So I'm super happy with their journey, and it's taken quite some time to get here. A lot of people will be like, your comic has been going on for how long? Basically almost 10 years now. And I'm just, it seems like a lot, especially for the content that I have, the amount of content. I feel like it should be way more, but I'm really glad I only have what I have, because it's really given these characters time to grow and kind of become what they are now. And the comic itself has grown a lot as well. Like, I've redrawn a lot of parts of the comic several times, especially since when I first created it, I was in college, and I really did not take the comic seriously, in the sense that I didn't plan for anything long term. I remember, for those of you that don't know the story, I had another comic that I was working on before this, and I had only been working on it for like, I guess like 3 or 4 months. And before that, I had a very long-standing comic, which is where a lot of these characters are basically not recycled, but like a lot of the archetypes that I like, as far as like character expression goes, are in this comic. And so that one I had been working on several years, and then since I was like in high school or something, I think. And then I decided to drop it and start something new. And I only did that thing for 4 months before I randomly drew a picture. I'll probably ask my editor to throw it up on screen so you guys can see what they looked like in 2014. And everybody really, really loved the characters, and they were like, you should drop what you're doing now and just do this instead. And when I drew that picture, I had no idea who the characters were or anything. I just drew 4 characters. And so I had to go from there and start fleshing them out. I had no idea who these characters were. So it was really, really cool to kind of get to know them and start this whole new project that I had no idea would turn into this. And when I started, it was just for fun, because that's, you know, how it started and how all of my comic projects started, you know. That's why I always say, everybody that asks me, should I start a comic? How do I start it? When am I ready? Baby, you're never going to be ready. It's never going to be ready, no matter what. Like, even when you feel like you're ready, sometimes you take it on and you just, you know, and there's obviously different levels of ready. You get me? Like, sometimes there's like a little threshold where you're like, okay, I'm ready to start, you know? You just decide, okay, like, it's not going to be perfect, but I need to start. And sometimes I say that even if you feel completely not ready, I would say to just start it. Just start it, because a couple months, a couple weeks down the line, you're going to be grateful that you did. You're going to be happy. Even years down the line, you're going to be like, damn, if I hadn't started that back then, I probably would not be where I am now. So use it as a learning experience. You never know where it's gonna go. If you don't think you're a good enough artist, trust me, there will be other comics along the way, or this will be the one comic that you really, really like, and it'll grow. Your art will grow, everything. So I promise it'll be worth to start. And to me, all of my comic projects have been proof. I'm so glad that I did them, and I'm so glad that I didn't wait. So yeah, that's enough of the rambling, but yeah, so I'm really glad that this one just kind of accidentally popped up, and it kind of just worked out. So here we have our third main character, Saskia. And this is one of the characters that I think has probably grown the most. I would say maybe Anya and Jago, I think, are the most the same. I think Pim and Saskia have really grown into their own. And then if I had to put them on a scale, I would say Saskia the most, because Saskia really didn't have like too much of a personality, so to speak, when I first created her, and even a couple of years down the line. She was kind of just a trope. She was just kind of I don't want to boil it down to the yandere, but it's kind of like, if I had to summarize the trope, it would just be that. And it kind of like didn't feel right. Everything that I like, the more I got to know her, like, it was kind of difficult. I'm like, who is she really? And she kind of really started to blossom, I would say, like, not even like a couple years ago. Pretty recently, I would say. Like, she just started to make more sense. Like, she's very, and it's still, I wouldn't say like she's kind of formed into like a unique character, right? Like, everything is a trope. So even the things that my characters have become, right? Like Pim is, typical himbo on the outside, troubled, traumatized, and coping on the inside, coping with humor and all of the lightheartedness, has a dark side, quote unquote. It's all a trope, right? But I think it's the way that you execute those tropes that makes characters unique. So don't be scared if your character is a trope. I always say everything is a trope. It's going to be. Don't try to avoid it, okay? Just know that it's the way that you execute it that makes your character, I guess, like, just unique and special to you and everything. So yes, don't shy away from it. Just accept it, embrace it. It's gonna be okay, I promise. So yeah, so she kind of was just, I guess, like, if we had to keep using that term, like the yandere, and she kind of really evolved into this, like, kind of like Pim, where, I mean, a lot of my characters tend to be like that, where it's like they're this one character on the outside, and then on the inside they're like struggling with something, like going through something. And I really like that contrast in characters. And so I kind of applied it to her, where she's like this duplicitous, like sly, kind of troublesome, chaotic, sort of character, where she just kind of is selfish, does whatever she wants, and on the inside it's really to cope with. She has she's definitely neurodivergent, and so she is struggling with that sort of thing, and definitely just needs love and care and affection, and a lot of it is just to cope with that. And so once all of those pieces kind of started to fall into place, her character in general started to make more sense. And here we are with our last main character, Jago. Jago is probably, next to Pim, one of my favorite characters to draw. And Jago is probably my most guilty pleasure character, because Jago is just so hot. He is definitely my guilty pleasure character. So yeah, but he's really fun to draw because his expressions are incredibly minimal. Like, they're so minimal that if you move his eyebrows a singular millimeter, it's a completely different expression. It's a whole new expression. So it's really fun to just tweak with that, like, minimal window that I have, because if not, it's all of a sudden out of character. if you move his eyebrows too much, it's out of character. So doing things like sadness, like surprise, like judgmental face, like even smiling. Smiling is one that he does not do. Eventually he does it in the story, but what people know of him right now, he does not smile at all. Like there's a lot going on there. So it's really fun to create an expression sheet for him when what it seems like is there not many expressions for him to have, when in reality that's not the case. So this expression sheet was pretty challenging to create. I'm like, how do I create an assortment of feelings of a character that is essentially just like the two like dashes and then the underscore emoji basically constantly. The bottom left chibi is essentially him all the time. So so we have this colored sketch that I have there on the top left right now. And that is, as you probably saw in some of the previous expression sheets, I was importing drawings that I already had of my characters. And listen, we are about working smarter, not harder here. I had 13 of these to do. So if I had to trace and update my own work, I was going to do it. So it's better to just use, I've been drawing these characters for a really long time. So I thought, why not? I definitely have some of my favorite drawings of each character. So I figured that I would at least use the art that I already have to my own benefit rather than shying away from, just not redoing them from scratch, right? So the colored sketch that I have is from a sheet where it was from a sketchbook from the Slam sketchbook, which I think I'll put in the top right somewhere. Hopefully, I think I've done that several times where I say I'll put it in the top right and I haven't. So hopefully I'll remember this time to do it. But yeah, I did a Slam sketchbook and I did 3 expressions. I think it was him, Saskia, and Yotaro. So I was doing them bald so that way I could practice the characterization of each character with just their face. Because you know how sometimes you have like same face syndrome, and if you take out their hair, all of your characters look the same? Well, that is what I was worried about. And so I really wanted to make sure that each of my characters was feeling unique without the hair. So, and I struggle a lot with like same face syndrome because, for example, Saskia and maybe Jette, we haven't gotten there yet. I think she's in this video. Are basically my templates for like drawing more like feminine characters, and Pim is basically my template for drawing more masculine looking characters. And so it's kind of concerning because every time I go draw, those sorts of characters, I notice that they all just start to look the same. And I don't want that to happen to me. I want to make sure that I keep, characters that I draw unique and feeling like themselves. And not just my own characters, but like all sorts of characters, right? So yeah, so I feel like that's a good exercise. Not just that, there's another exercise that I was doing that I never finished. So maybe I'll go ahead and finish that one as well. Maybe I could throw that one up on screen too. I don't know. Maybe if it's good enough. Yeah, so not just doing it in without hair, but also in black and white, because sometimes the color just gives everything away. So I would highly recommend, either just doing pen sketches of your characters, no color, no hair, usually no tattoos either, just down to the bare bones, and see how close you can get to each character still feeling like themselves, even without all of their characteristic marks. Yeah. And here we have finished, finally, our 4 main characters. Now, the next ones are going to be basically the main side characters. And there's a lot of main side characters. There's 13 on the website. So You already know this cast is pretty huge. There is somebody for everybody. And this character's name is Alvin. And Alvin is another character that has really, really grown a lot since the original, his original creation. And you'll see here that I'm kind of fleshing out each expression, kind of just trying to understand where each one is going to go. So I have these like kind of singular lines, just trying to simplify the expressions that are going to go there. And Alvin has what we know about him, or what most people know about him. In chapter 3, you get to see a different side of him. Is that he's basically just the pretty boy, right? Like, he's very, very cute. He's very like pretty. He's handsome. And the thing is that he looks like the top right, not that expression, but that type of anatomy, right? He doesn't really look like the top left, really, like by default. By default, he's very just like handsome, like pretty, like he still has like very like masculine features kind of, but they're like slightly softer. But the reason that I went with making this contrast is that when I first designed him, he was like right now on my screen, the top right, but it was too like there was no depth. It felt like there was just nothing. It was only that. And so he kind of evolved into this character where, again, the contrast. I absolutely love contrast. And so it was that he was just incredibly manipulative. Alvin is an absolute and forgive the the language. Maybe we censor that. I'm not sure. Should I say that? Not sure. Absolute, just not great. And so he is aware of what he looks like. And so he uses it to his benefit in order to get what he wants. And the way that I show that is by drastically changing his appearance and his facial anatomy to the top left. So that when you see him in that mode, you know that he's invoking that like aura, right? Like he's really trying, it's like the superpower, right? Like he's trying to use that superpower to kind of, manipulate you into doing what he wants, rather than how he was originally designed as kind of his default. And so that face, that screenshot that I got for the top right, where he's being very sinister and just saying the absolute worst things to you, is from chapter 3. So you get to see that side of him where he's just like not invoking that and just being absolutely rude. And he's kind of, like a little sly. I wouldn't say he's a trickster. He's like more just sly in general, really just he's very underhanded. He's a pickpocket, he does all these sorts of like underhanded manipulative things, but he's also very like shy. He definitely has a soft spot. He's one of those people that has like their walls up constantly and, doesn't really let a lot of people in. But when they do, when they have that soft spot, they have that tender soft spot on the inside that if you can get there, it's like, and I can change him, basically that sort of thing, then, you end up with this ball of mush. And so the bottom middle is basically you see him being this ball of mush for Jago. So he has this sort of like, and you see a lot of that dynamic in the first chapter, a little bit at the end, and you see it basically in chapter 3, because chapter 3 is Jago and Alvin are in there, and so you really see their dynamic a lot, and you get to really experience Alvin's feelings towards him, and Alvin's attitude, the contrast between how he is in chapter 1 and, which is basically the top left, that like, ooh, woo type of feeling, and then, the complete turnaround 180 in chapter 3. So yeah, you get to see all sides, and he's kind of a know-it-all as well. He's very intelligent, And so he kind of just uses that to be even more manipulative and be even more condescending and patronizing and all of that surely, you know, good stuff. So here we go, doing the chibi. It's basically the chibi kind of version of the top left, but it's a little bit more just like more derpy and more like, I was a little bit worried about this face because I think it was like a little, I didn't like that it was too close to the top left, but I ended up liking that it was like kind of a derpy version, so I decided to just keep it. It's different enough. And then here you see me completing the last expression, which is the like wholesome, like the actual wholesome face. So you have like, you know, the sad, you know, eyes, like, you know, face is more round, more like just like more like eyes like large, you know, they're shiny, they're, you know, you got the watering, like the watery eyes, the pink blushies, you know, just full cute. And then you have the actual like wholesome, right? You know, you've got his more default face, default anatomy. And this face, the underlying screen cap that I was using there was from chapter 3. So this is a face, which I don't know if, not that anybody cares about spoilers here, I think, but yeah, this is a face that he gives Jago. I'm pretty sure this is the Jago face. Hopefully I'm not misremembering my own comic, but yeah, so, or if not, I turned it into an actual wholesome face. Who knows? I'll have to go back and check actually. So yeah. So this is it, completed. And this is the turning point right here, guys. This is the turning point where the sheets start to get more and more detailed. And this sheet is where it starts to, I really start getting happy with the level of details. And here we are doing my character Jette. And Jette has really, there's a lot going on with Jette. She's from Britain, and she's just, oh god, she's so much fun. She laughs at you, she jokes around a lot. She's very like crass. She's very, you know, very promiscuous. She's very brutally honest. She just says things the way they need to be said. She's very just carefree, very shameless, you know, just all around chaotic fun. But I would say that she is definitely she's chaotic good. She definitely means well. She's like, you know that trope with like the hot Cheeto girl where like she's like nice to you, she's like does all these things and she looks mean and like all that sort of thing, where she's like protects you and she like, if you make friends with her, she's like super, like she's kind of like that. And she's a lesbian, and she's really grown a lot since I first made her. She does have a briefly kind of this thing with Jago, but otherwise, yeah, she's very much into taco. She likes taco. Tacos are her favorite. So yeah, she's absolutely super fun. When she gets mad, she definitely gets really mad. You do not want to be there. She is heavy smoker. And I really, really love her fashion sense. She just, you know, got the piercings everywhere, love those, got the giant hoops, you know, she wears lots of sweatpants, crop tops, underboob. And underboob is pretty difficult with her, considering as she evolves, she basically has like the smallest boobs of all time. And she's tiny boobs, large ass, you know, that's the way it goes. And there is a drawing that I finished recently. I will throw it up on the screen if you guys want to check it out. It'll be on my Twitter. I'll post the link down below as well. This drawing has been in the works for literal ages, And I finally finished it this year. It was one of my resolutions to finally just put it to rest. And in there, she's just got the nicest booty. Yeah, and I was so proud of that drawing, and she's just really, really fun to draw. The fashion sense, the attitude, and she is like one of the like hot characters. She's just like supposed to be unabashedly attractive, and I just love that about her. She's just so fun to draw. And here in the top middle is one of my favorite pictures that I have drawn of her, and I do have a speed paint of this because I did it on Procreate. So I'm pretty sure I posted a time lapse of that on Twitter. If I did, I'll post it down below if you guys want to check it out. And I'm just really proud of that one. Like the angle is like pretty extreme. She looks like herself. Just being able to see like, you know, the piercing and everything, just it's so her. So when I do the sketches, you know, and pick one to color, it's definitely going to be that one, even though the under one it was already colored. So probably don't have to do too much there. But as you can see, hopefully you guys notice, it's starting to get neater. So if you compare this one, the transition has been pretty subtle. So if you don't think about it too hard, they might look like the same. I think fidelity is the correct word, right? Yeah, if you don't notice it, it might actually look the same. But as I kept going, you know, you flash the old ones on the screen just to make sure that they look the same. And when I flashed them on the screen next to each other, I was like, oh goodness, we're doing the thing subtly. Every single time, it's just getting more and more and more detailed. And I'm not gonna lie, I'm actually really glad I did that. I feel like they are sketches, like they're still sketches, but they're neat enough that I don't have to do line art. I think I can literally just stop here and do the process that I was talking about earlier, which is to pick one, add color to that one, and kind of just leave the other ones to be kind of, you know, artsy, kind of monochrome, you know, probably go into an off black, kind of just like a bluish black, and just leave the other ones like that. And I think it would look really nice. So I'm really glad that I kind of decided to clean them up slightly. It definitely lowers the workload because essentially at this point, they're basically all done. They're basically done. So yeah, I'm very, very happy with how these started to come out. Here we have in the bottom middle just her laughing at you, and she has one of those like loud infectious laughs. I really have no idea how to imitate that, but hopefully you know exactly what I'm talking about. She's just got like loud, unabashed laugh, and she just like makes you laugh even though you have like just no idea what's going on. And she's just fun. She's just really fun in general. So yeah, Jet, you know? And we are almost done with this one. And I don't know, I feel like I've been rambling this whole video. I am so sorry. If you're still watching, thank you so much for watching. Hopefully you have been enjoying the video. Like I said earlier, guys, let me know what you think about this style of filming, the style of speed paint. Is it better? Is the length bad? Is the rambling bad? I know a lot of you tell me that you do like the rambling, but every time I do it, it feels like I am just saying too much and too much of nothing. So let me know down below. Let me know also, I'm pretty sure I already said it, but if you prefer that I split it. So the next one is 6. I don't know if I should just split that into 2 threes. I did most of the talking this one, but like I said, I started to find my rhythm commentating this one. So I have a feeling that the next one is probably going to be the same because I'm going to want to talk about each character and rather than not, right? So being able to talk about each character and why I chose to draw the way that I drew them is kind of fun and exciting. So So yeah, I don't think that I'm going to be able to do the next video silently. I said I was gonna put a bunch of music, but that's probably not gonna be able to happen. So yeah. And so here we have the last one of this video, Iosif. And Iosif is just an angry Serbian, and I now live in Serbia, so I've been living in Serbia actually since July of last year, so it's almost going to be a month. Is that 6 to 12? That's what is that, like almost like 7 months, and we're in January, so it's almost 8 months. Yeah, pretty nutty, and I've loved it here. I've been learning the language. My boyfriend lives here, and it's been a ride. So I feel like I'm closer to Iosif now that I've been living here and learning the language for quite some time. It's like this weird newfound connection that I never thought I would have. And the same thing with a lot of my other characters. You know, I traveled to the UK for a tattoo, but also to experience, you know, Jette's homeland. This year, well, not this year, sorry, early last year, I started in January. I went to Denmark for Saskia because Saskia is Danish. I went to Germany. I went to Berlin and Munich. Pim is from Munich, so I decided to go there, make sure I had to see Berlin. If you're going to Germany, you have to see Berlin. But I also had to go to Munich because, I mean, it's a big city as well, so gotta see that too, but they're from Munich, so I have to go there. I've been to Japan before, twice for Anya, and one day I would like to go see Tibet for Jago. So I really want to go to all of my characters' countries and really just experience them, at least even for a little bit. And so to talk a little bit about Iosif, Iosif has the typical eye-covered, you know, trope. I love those characters. I love the characters with like hair in their faces. And it's funny because we haven't gotten to the Effie sheet. The Effie is Pim's sister, and I would argue Effie is, I wouldn't argue, she just objectively is the most heinous, atrocious character in this entire series. She honestly needs to be burned at the stake. She is awful, god awful, and it's interesting because she also has the bangs covering her face, but for a different reason. So I'll probably bring that up again in that video because, you know, I'd have to bring it up when her sheet comes up, but it's done so differently in contrast to Iosif. Whereas Iosif is like angry, he's very like, just like, oh, he's so like, he just like hates people, he hates everybody. He just does not like want to be like around you, like he hates you, his guard is up constantly, he's just nasty. But there's something about him, he's kind of short a little bit, and he is very naive, he's kind of clueless, he's not very bright. And so that's where we get like the top, like middle picture where he's like a little like, he's very gullible. And the bottom right is the chibi, is like him like smudging. He's kind of like pouting. He's like, And those of you that have followed like the story and the characters a lot know that Iosif bunks with Enzo, which is a character who we'll also do in the next video. And Enzo and Pim are good friends because those two are basically the himbos of the show. Of the story. And Enzo is so much fun. Like he has like the sharp teeth, and he's like really tall and just fucking says everything and just has always smiling and always just feel good vibes. And so when you have a character like that bunking with a character like this, and you know, like Enzo is like more clueless than Pim is. Like Pim is intelligent, like he's very smart. Not that Enzo is clueless, but he's more like, he's like actually not like very intelligent. So he's kind of like perceptive, but he's not intelligent. So there's a difference there. And because of that, it really shines when he's with Enzo, because those sorts of people are kind of infectious. Like their happiness, their energy and all of that, it's like you can't help it. And so Enzo has like this effect on Iosif, and Iosif kind of like hates him kind of, but it's like he can't really like help it. And also Iosif wants to fight everybody. He hates everybody. He's just angry all the time. And Iosif is really short compared to Enzo, so like there's not much he can do about there. Like Enzo could literally clock him and just knock him out at any time. So it's like he can't really fight him. So it's kind of this weird like dynamic where he's kind of helpless on both fronts. And Enzo is like, he has a greater bravado than Pim, right? So he has this like, he says a lot of things that might not be true. He's like, yeah, like I bench, you know, X amount, you know, that sounds like unrealistic. And, you know, because Iosif is kind of like gullible, he's like, wait, what? And so there's like a very cute kind of dynamic there. And like I said, I really love contrast in characters. And so having a character like Iosif that is just constantly like that with nothing else feels a little empty. And so I kind of had to give him like, you know, like, for example, like Zoro. Those of you that watch One Piece, right? You know that Zoro is like this like super intense, like badass character, like, you know. But when you get to know Zoro, like, and if you haven't watched One Piece, like, if there's anything I recommend is One Piece. I'm a simp for One Piece. Like, one of my favorite, if not my favorite show manga of all time. Oda is an absolute genius. And if you like art, you like characters, you like story, I highly recommend reading it. Like, the paneling, the designs, the characterizations, the story, everything is just impeccable. Obviously, it's not perfect. It's not perfect. It has a lot of its own flaws, but for the most part, it's worth it. And yeah, so if you know Zoro, you know that he's all of those things, but he's also really like kind of dumb. Not dumb, but like, you know, he's really bad with directions, and he's kind of like, and it kind of adds this like comedic, you know, lightheartedness. And he's also very, very wholesome. He's very like, I wouldn't say lawful good. He's more of like maybe neutral good. I don't know. He's very like wholesome, like dutiful kind of, but he's also like selfish for his own goals and stuff. And he's just like kind of a good person in general. And so having that sort of contrast adds like some nice depth to a character instead of, you know, and even though like you're explaining that, right, and you're like, okay, but that's just like a trope, right, like the contrast and all of this, and it's like, yes, it is, but also it's the way that you do it, like I said, you know. So I really liked, you know, adding that to Iosif, because when I originally created him, it was just the forefront, and a lot of my characters were just that. And as I got to know them more and like flesh them out more, I got to really get to know that other side of them, and not just like, okay, well, like Iosif is just like an edgy, angry Serbian guy, and then fucking Pim. Well, Pim is another story, because maybe when I do make let me know if you guys would be interested in that, and like seeing how the characters evolved and how they were like 10 years ago essentially and how they are now. It would be kind of interesting if you guys want to ever see that. But yeah, just adding the extra layers, you know, really made me fall in love with these characters more and really made them shine. So yeah, this is pretty much his spectrum of expressions, which was also interesting to do without like showing his eyes too much. I have drawn him several times, like very, very rarely, like you see in the top right, showing his eyes. And I really think it fits him. I was struggling for quite some time to find the right set of eyes that would just fit his personality and how angry he is all the time. And as you can see, the sketch is not quite super clean, but it is starting to get cleaner. And I promise, if you go back in the VOD and compare the first one to this one, you will see the difference. And as you see the next video, you guys will see it as well. So hopefully this video wasn't too long. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Hopefully I didn't ramble for too long. Honestly, I looked at the length of this video and thought it would take me, it would really be taxing, but it was really fun to talk through it and try to give you guys some insight on my process. Let me know what you guys thought down below. Like the video if you liked it, of course. Subscribe, join the Nippy family, the more the merrier. And yeah, I mean, I'll see you guys next video, hopefully. Bye, take care, thank you.